The following may not be appropriate for all ages. Parental advisory suggested. If you are okay, however, with mild cursing and talk of memories, we invite you to keep listening.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Liliana Darkangelo from Nerdvana Webcast, and we're coming to you today from Seattle to bring you episode 5. But I'm not here alone. I am joined by people.
John.
And Grim.
And Vincent.
Yay, we has Vincent.
Woohoo, Aussie power.
Yes, I actually managed to get the Monday off work.
That's good. So you could actually join us.
Yes, and everyone hates Mondays at work anyway, so why not?
Who needs Mondays?
I'm very used to not working on Mondays from being in restaurants, so I just take this as fun.
Yeah, another day to relax.
Exactly.
So with the new year comes new changes for Nerdvana. I don't know how many of you have actually been checking the site, but we're actually going to be moving it soon. It's not bad, but because of the fact that we are growing as a podcast, we are switching the site over to where we will have our own .com. Layout should be the same. We should be moving that probably around end of February, March, maybe April, somewhere in that bubble. Right around the time to celebrate 1 year of Nerdvana actually being Nerdvana. I know online it isn't a year, but it's been 1 year as of March since we've started planning this fun little bubble of fun.
Holy upgrade.
Right? But on top of that, not only are we switching the site over, but we should also have a bunch of conventions to share reviews and interviews for you with, and words are failing me, forgive me.
You're still in shell shock from last night.
Yeah. Before I get to that fun story, but we're also going to continue to do 2 episodes a month, so every other week, which will be fun. Every other week. And we also have more contributors, which means more things for you to read. We will have more recipes, more how-tos, comic reviews, movies, TV shows, anime. On top of that, we're also going to start Contributors Month, so you get to learn more about us and what we do. Once the new site switches over, then we can start all the fun things that we have planned, and you will get to know more about how we are redefining the term nerd. But before we get into the fun-filled episode, let's see how this year's treated everyone. How about you, Vincent? How's it treated you so far?
Well, I've started a new job, so that's always a good start to the year. So I actually have money now to pay for all the conventions that I'm going to be going to this year, and for the equipment I'm going to need to actually do the videos and interviews and stuff like that.
Well, hey, that's good.
Financial upgrade.
Yay, financial upgrade.
Yay!
Woo! What about you, John?
Well, play I've been working for with sound design just opened on Friday the 10th of January. Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf and at the Lakewood Playhouse, so that's one less thing I have to deal with. And then I learned that I have more audio stuff to do in the future with The Odd Couple. So, and on top of doing this and some other stuff like an upcoming album I'll be the engineer for one of our clients at the radio station. So, maybe I can get Grimmin to assist if he so wishes, because his finger was...
I was wiping my eye, I swear.
Finger was telling me something about him wanting to do something, so I don't know. So that's pretty much it for me.
Lucky bastard.
And what about you, Grim?
It was tiring.
That's it.
No, it was fun, but I'm just still exhausted. I mean, come on, I've got the medieval combat that I do, and that's, almost every month when it comes to summer. I went to a ton of conventions, and sometimes they're chaotic, sometimes they're just entertaining, but yeah, that still drains. And then, between work and cool things like meeting Voltaire and having a blast, yeah, I'm just exhausted.
I feel you on that one. So part of the episode, we're going to talk about the music scene, not just in the Seattle area, but in other areas. And last night for my birthday, Grim took me to go see Voltaire. He was accompanied by Trance to the Sun, Spider-Fern, and Jeff Ferrell. And we actually do have interviews from Voltaire and Jeff Ferrell. But it was, so far this year's been slow. It's been a lot of planning for the podcast. And then Voltaire comes into town and suddenly it's, oh my God, I'm meeting Voltaire. He's wishing me a happy birthday. He even sang happy birthday, my old friend, and inserted my name in there. There were 2 other people a part of the song, but I pretended it was all me. And, it was one of those fantastic birthday presents that I absolutely enjoyed. And so far we've got a couple conventions coming up. We'll be at Wizard World at the end of the month. So if you're going to be in Portland for Wizard World Comic Con, we'll be there. Stay tuned for information on our costumes. We will also be at RadCon in Pasco, Washington in February, which is going to be fantastic. And so far, the rest of the convention season's kind of up in the air. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to the people that run this thing. We're waiting to hear back from you so we can plan our calendar accordingly. But so far, the year's been good to us. A lot of planning, a lot of change, and we're growing. Next episode, we do have some big news that I will not disclose now. But stay tuned for next episode because we will have fantastic big news about an expansion for our podcast. We do have some great new contributors all along the West Coast. They range from San Diego and LA up through Portland and Salem, all the way through different parts of Washington. So
We are Legion.
yeah, we are growing. But let's start our podcast episode with the music scene, since we talked about Voltaire and my birthday and all that fun stuff. Because it seems that in Seattle itself, the music scene is very diverse and very large. I don't know what kind of music you guys are into, but I don't even know what the music scene's like out in Australia.
Right?
In Australia, it's normally not too bad. But I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Australia, so there's not much here other than a bit of pub rock, and that's about it. Really bad DJs at the nightclubs.
So, same as Seattle.
I'd say there's 3 or 4 good bands in the local area. That's about it. And the rest of them can't get a show.
Well, is there anything else outside of music that's fun to do out there?
In my place, no. The cities are great, but I live out in the middle of nowhere. So all I've got to do here is play video games and cruise on the internet. Which is fine for me, because I don't do much else anyway.
But there's nothing else? There's no belly dance or burlesque or anything out there?
There is the closest to me is like 150, 200 miles away. So it's not somewhere I can go to and hang out all the time.
But it's there, kind of.
In Australia, you've got pretty much everything you could think of in Seattle, but spread across all of Australia rather than in a small area. We've got as many comic conventions as you have in Seattle in a year is what Australia has in a year. Music gigs, same sort of thing. It's a very slow progression to actually get to see everything in Australia and get to see all the events and anything like that. You get with Voltaire, he came to Australia and played 2 shows, and that was it for the entire country.
Ouch.
Well, he only played 1 show here, so, but still.
True.
Yeah, because our population's smaller than what you've got in New York, so it doesn't pay to have 20 shows through Australia where you go on a tour through America and they might do 20 or 30 shows somewhere. It's unfortunate for the people who live here like me, but at the same time, the money's just not in it for them. The venues aren't there for them. We just don't have the structure to do everything that we'd like to do.
But you have it, so at least, there's some form of entertainment.
Oh yeah, you can always find some entertainment somewhere. A couple of the clubs in Melbourne do stand-up comedy shows. You do get a lot of people doing punk rock, but unfortunately they don't know how to hold a microphone or play any of their instruments, so all it sounds like is they're just screaming. You get some of the bigger ones that they actually do really well. But we take it pretty easy over here.
That's good. Sounds a bit like Seattle, just we've got a bit more of the screaming.
Yeah.
By a lot.
Yeah.
Nothing against the Seattle music scene, but yeah. We have some very entertaining local bands. And, it's... The bands that we have out here caters to pretty much everything, every different type of culture and group that we have out here. But with the way that Seattle's going, different cultures are starting to become...
More prevalent?
Yeah. Such as the goth culture or the gay culture that we have out here. It's because of the fact that things are shutting down, or such as Neighbors, one of our local gay clubs, someone set a fire in there. And it's not necessarily stopping us from doing anything, it's just making us more determined to show that we're not going anywhere, which I think is fantastic.
That's fantastic, that is. If you keep doing things and you keep creating events and doing things, people will catch on. And that's what's lacking here at the moment. Because there's only a handful of events, and people love them. We get 5, 6, 7,000 people show up for one day of a comic convention, but they only do 4 a year.
So you're saying that we should force more people out there?
Not force them, but give them opportunities. If you've got 6,000 people showing up for one day of a comic convention that you do 4 times a year in each city, do an extra one. See if you get the 4,000 people there. And if you're doing that and you're making the money and the event's going well and everyone's having a good time, you open up more and more. Where at the moment, they're all run by 2 companies, and they're just happy to go, well, we make the money in here and here, and people are happy with that. Rather than trying to open up new avenues for people to go down, they're just happy with what they've got rather than trying to expand.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. Could be entertaining.
Well, in our entertainment industry out here is we have different types of belly dance. We have the tribal, the traditional stuff. I mean, we have different types of belly dance that goes on. We have different types of fire performances.
Oh, yeah.
We have different types of burlesque, which I hope no one gets angry with this next statement. It feels like the burlesque genre is kind of straying away from what it used to be and kind of losing itself.
Yeah, a little.
It's the classy burlesque that I love it feels like we don't really have that much here in Seattle. And that kind of makes me sad. I don't even know what we would really classify what we have as anymore.
On that note, I don't know on the burlesque side. Some of it I can still say is burlesque, and then the rest of it, for lack of a better word, to be politically, well, basically not to have to deal with people throwing firebombs through my wall. I call some of it burlesque, but I'm not gonna stand beside that in my own head.
Everyone has their own classification on that, and the problem with burlesque and belly dance is because there's so much of it out here, and there's so many different people doing it that there are so many different opinions on it. Which is, whereas I feel that the burlesque scene's kind of losing itself from what it used to be to what it is now. Others might love it, and that's fine. Everyone has their different opinions on it, and there is no one right answer on it, but it's because Seattle is so diverse, there is just so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, at any given day, you've probably got 2 comedy shows and some MMA fighting, 3 rock concerts, 2 rap concerts, half a dozen punk rock shows, all going on at the same time.
I can sit on Facebook, and I will have invites for different burlesque shows going on the same night, different variety shows, comedy shows, big name concerts. Like, there are so many things that go on out here that sometimes it is insane. Sometimes it blows my mind on just how diverse everything is. But at the same time, it's actually kind of cool to sit back and look at how diverse things are.
And then, you add in conventions and random fairs and festivals and things like that. Yeah, I'm surprised we don't have 24/7 partying. Seriously.
We're starting to get there, I think. But it's getting to the point where, because Seattle's so big and so diverse, people actually have to start scheduling things. I mean, I've seen people, they're like, oh yeah, I won't be able to be at this event until this time because I'm at this event, or I can't be there because I'm performing here. And once you have to start scheduling things, it kind of is like, well, we're kind of losing a lot because there's always something going on, which is nice, but it's kind of a bad thing because there really is no break.
Nope.
There's always an event at some club or at some bar. So you can't necessarily go into a bar and just drink because there's always something going on.
Yeah. Pretty much you come to the Seattle area, and if you ever say you can't find something to do,
obviously
you aren't even trying, because you don't have to try hard.
There are some nights, especially during the week, where you can go into a bar and actually drink and not have an event going on. But if you're here and on the weekends you're saying there's nothing going on, you're obviously in the wrong area, because there's always something going on somewhere.
And that's it. It just takes looking for it, and in Melbourne there's always something to do, which is the closest capital city to me. But the advertising is actually really bad for it. Facebook, I used to run a group on Facebook that used to post events that people could go to through Australia. But nobody wanted to advertise their events. And that was really sad for me, because I'd spent 6 months trying to get this thing going just to have the people making the events not follow through. There is something all the time in every city, but if you don't know about it and it's not being advertised anywhere, you don't know to go there. You don't know that there's a vampire nightclub in Melbourne. Very few people would actually know that. And I think they do some burlesque there as well. But nobody knows about it, unless the only reason I know about it is because they had a booth at a comic convention once.
Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Well, and that's the thing that I've noticed too in this, especially in Seattle, is no one's necessarily promoting their events anymore. They're leaving it up to Facebook, and not everyone sits on Facebook 24/7. And if you're only relying on Facebook to promote your event, you're not reaching the necessary people. Because half the events that go on here, I don't know about because it doesn't hit my Facebook feed. And not everyone's going to spend the money on the ads. So if you're not actually hitting the streets, passing out flyers, telling everyone and anyone that will listen about your event, you're not hitting all the people. And, when you have a set group of people that will attend, you need to make sure that they hear about it. And everyone else outside of that set group that you want there is just an added bonus. But it seems like it's gotten to the point where everyone's relying on everyone else to promote their stuff. And it's actually very rare now for me to see someone promoting their own show. It's fine to promote it at a comic book convention because you're going to hit a majority of people, but, that's a once-a-month deal, sometimes twice, depending on the convention. But you got to be able to hit everywhere outside of conventions.
And the advertising even on Facebook, the advertising there, they'll charge you $1 for an ad per person that goes through it. So if you consider that, you might pay $3 per person that you actually get through the door. $5 at most. And if you're charging $5 or $10 to get in, plus they have drinks or something like that, it's worth the money to get the people through the door, because once they're through the door the first time, they come back again and again.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of getting people through the door the first time that is the challenge.
That's right.
And if you're banking on them coming through the door again and again, your focus is in the wrong spot, because you have to make sure you get them through the door that first time to get them hooked. And if you're just relying on, Facebook or conventions, there's no real guarantee you're going to get a bunch of people that you're actually going to make the money back you've spent on all the flyers and on the show and all that stuff. You have to put in all that time and effort to try and get as many people as possible through that door. And, that does take time, but you have to be willing to put in the work in order to get those people.
Yeah. If they don't know about it, they're going to go, oh, well, damn, too bad, so sad. If I'd known, I would have been there, but...
Yeah, I've done that multiple times. Oh, I would have loved to be at that show, but I didn't know.
And again, to be fair, it's not just, lack of ways to promote. It's also hand in hand with the people that put the stuff on need to have the people out there promoting it.
And that's where a bunch of events need to actually have just one set person who all they do is promotions. So then that way the people running the show aren't splitting their time. They can focus on putting on the show, and they have that one person or that group of people that's hitting the streets, taking care of the social media, hitting every avenue possible to get people through that door, and they've got that covered. But I don't see that very much anymore.
No, everyone just relies on if you like a page on Facebook, they'll send you an invite to an event, and that just doesn't get you new people in.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook does work once in a while for that, but again, you got to have someone promoting that, at least every other day to make it worthwhile.
Well, and you also want to go ahead and get new people in. I mean, it's like with Arrakis. They put out flyers and posters and all that, and they go to conventions and talk to people. They don't just pass this stuff out. They actually get a table and talk to people and get people to buy the tickets, and that's what gets the people through the door. Because they're actually willing to put time and effort into the promotions aspect of this. And if you're willing to put flyers into shops and, put them anywhere and everywhere you can and hand them out to all different people who can sit there and go, oh, you like heavy metal, or you like the opera, or are you looking for something fun to do? Here, go check this out. Because even through Facebook, there's still people that don't know about it. Facebook does a fantastic job on getting the people that already know about it, but you've also got to get the other aspect of people who have no idea what's going on. So.
And the thing with Facebook as well, if one person's into a specific place or a specific thing, chances are their friends know about it, and their friends are interested in the same sort of thing. So, really you're only getting small groups of friends going in through the events on Facebook. You can't turn around to somebody you just met and say, hey, you want to come to this? Because you don't know them. The people, if you've got 5 people on Facebook that would be interested in going to an Arrakis production, you've probably already spoken to them about the Arrakis production, and sending the event out is only letting those 5 people know. But if you go to the comic convention, everyone can say, well, hey, that's great, I want to go.
Well, and, you go to a convention and, 20 people hear about it. Suddenly they're going home telling their friends and going, hey, check this out. Because then the thing that Arrakis does is they have a TV setup where they have some of their music playing and they have photos and some videos from their shows playing. So you can kind of get a feel for it. And Arrakis is always in costume and, for the most part, in character. So, suddenly it's, hey, I just met these great people at this convention. Check out their website. And then word of mouth starts going, especially after a show.
And there's the advertisement you need. Word of mouth. It travels faster than social media.
Well,
trust me.
Last year, opening night was fairly empty. As, we kind of expected. Closing night, we were so close to being completely at full capacity, everyone was shocked. Our closing night of Arrakis Productions was fabulously full because of the fact that it was, and when I talked to people, it was, oh, I found them on the Groupon thing and thought this sounded cool, or my friend told me, or my children found them on Facebook and I thought this sounded cool. Occasionally I'd hear the parents that go, oh, I found them online, thought this sounded fun, and dragged my kids to it. It's that word of mouth. It's that finding them on different sites that people frequent, and that's where you hit your promotions.
Yep.
Facebook is fabulous, but you can't just rely on it. Not if you want your show to get bigger.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's some performers out there like Voltaire. He, when he comes to Seattle, he could easily get his show at Key Arena or Tacoma Dome or, any of those places. But the thing about him is he has a running agreement with El Corazon and the people that own El Corazon, so he goes there. And it works out just fine.
And, El Corazon is a fabulous venue as it is. The staff is great. They actually take care of their people. I actually enjoy El Corazon. It has that nice basement feel to it, which is always entertaining when you're watching Voltaire, especially when he shoves a bottle down his pants and pretends to be David Bowie.
Labyrinth is forever changed.
Yeah. I'm not even going to explain this. I'm just going to let our listeners just come up with their own stories based on this. Because that's so much more fun.
I think the word dangerous is more appropriate.
I like fun.
Sure, we'll roll with that.
Hey, dangerous can be fun depending on the circumstance. But
I'll roll with it.
But not just the music scene and the entertainment scene itself is very diverse in other areas too. I haven't really heard of these kinds of things in other areas. So if any of you out there have stories on the entertainment scene out there, whether it be music, burlesque, belly dance, what have you,
plays,
anything, let us know. We want to hear about it. So I think we can move on to superheroes now. since that seems to be something that's quite prevalent in the past few months. I know some of you have read on our Facebook page about Dennis. He recently passed away. For those of you that haven't heard the story, he was 55 and he struggled with mental and physical disabilities, but he was also diagnosed terminally ill with cancer. So in December, I got word that his friends and family wanted photos from cosplayers, in superhero costumes to be sent to him for Christmas. And what started off as just something small turned into spreading all across Facebook to hitting William Shatner and Stan Lee on Twitter, and they even had news coverage in their area. And it got to the point where this man was receiving so much love and care that it brought to light two things. Superheroes aren't just in comic books, and that the cosplay community as well as the nerd community as a whole come together for the most amazing things. Take Batkid, for example, with down in California, how the entire city turned it into Gotham for a day. And he became Batkid and rode alongside Batman and all that. When it comes down to certain things, the nerd community can come together and do such beautiful things. And we had one review from Sir Tristram on our site about the 7 laws of superheroes. And so part of this podcast, I wanted us to talk about different aspects of not just comic book superheroes and villains, but also the superheroes and villains we have in our everyday lives. And that's one of those things that not many people talk about because we don't really necessarily think of people being superheroes. But when you take Dennis into account, this man struggled through so much, and he did it with a smile on his face. And like I told him in the letter I sent him, and like I will forever say, he is a hero to me, because if he can fight through so much and still smile and still be happy, then why can't we? So I don't know if you guys have any input on the superhero villain thing.
No.
So in comic books, superheroes come in different shapes and forms. They have powers. They fight evil villains. They wear costumes. But in society, we don't necessarily see that.
Or at least we don't think of it.
We don't. I know we have Rex Velvet and Phoenix Jones out here, which are Seattle's villain superhero pairing, but we don't really hear much of them anymore. And
like I said, a lot of people don't think about certain aspects of life as heroes or villains. Case in point, the police, the fire departments, the military. To their country, those are heroes. It doesn't matter whether politically we're at war with them or not. They are a hero to somebody. And let's face it, they fight for what they believe in. They protect lives. They go out there and risk their everything to make someone's day.
And they do it without a cape.
Right?
And that's the thing that not everyone has fully realized is you don't need a cape to be a hero.
No.
You
Sometimes all you need is a smile.
And that's it. The child on the side of the street, or the child in the supermarket who lost mommy, that person that helps him find mommy is a hero to him because that child was lost and, someone helped him. An instructor in school that is that support system for a struggling student, that's a hero. Dennis, even though he really didn't do much, he proved that just because he's struggling doesn't mean he can't be happy. The case with Batkid, an entire town or an entire city came together for one child. If that doesn't prove that there are heroes out there, I don't know what does.
Yeah. I mean, all it takes really is just some small kindness out there to be someone's hero.
But with a superhero, there's also a villain.
Yeah.
And, with Dennis, it was his mental and physical disabilities on top of cancer. Villains aren't always physical beings either. And, he struggled through so much, and he came through. Yes, he passed away, but he went peacefully and happily. And to him, the nerd community are heroes. But, in Seattle, I've heard stories of fires at Neighbors, and the people that put that out are heroes because they saved the club from whatever damage could have happened if it got worse. The police out here, though not all of them are kind and friendly, we do still have them out there, and they are heroes. But I've been hearing stories of shootings, of robberies, of so much bad things that happen out here that it brings up the question of, do we still have heroes in our world?
I'd personally say yes. There's people every day that are willing to help people out. There's people every day that put themselves on the line, not just people in uniforms. I've seen it happen so many times in Melbourne where, 'cause I do spend a little bit of time there, someone will jump in to stop someone being attacked, or someone will stop the blind person from stepping in front of a car, because that sort of stuff happens. In Hobart, I've seen a grandmother walk out in the middle of a highway because she had dementia, and all these people rushed out to try and grab her off there before she got hit by a car. People like that are heroes. They still exist. We don't hear much of it anymore, but they still exist.
And like I said, it's the people that do the small things like that. Yeah, they are heroes. They risk, even if it's just holding out your arm and stopping someone at a crosswalk because you see a car coming that's not stopping. You're still a hero because you're at least trying.
Oh, and, I've had some heroes in my life. Growing up wasn't exactly the easiest for me. Dealing with parents that didn't always agree, it was hard, especially in a broken family. I had 2 teachers in high school that actually were my support system. They were heroes to me because without them, I'm 99% sure I wouldn't be here. All the friends that helped me through the hard times, they're my heroes. Avenged Sevenfold's drummer, Jimmy the Rev Sullivan. Growing up, Avenged Sevenfold was one of those bands that I listened to. I know not many people like them. That's your opinion. I absolutely love them. They were one of the bands I listened to growing up that, helped me hold on when I wanted to give up. And, reading about the stories of the bands, especially Jimmy, it gave me that hope because he was himself. He didn't care what other people thought. And may he rest in peace, he still made an impact on all of us that actually, were fans of the band and are fans. And he's one of those heroes to me because he proved it doesn't matter. If you love doing something, if you're true to yourself, that's all that matters. Because as long as you have friends and family that care about you and support you in everything you do, then you're the richest person out there. And he was always true to himself. We all have heroes. But we also have villains. And, it's one of those topics that's kind of hard to talk about because we all have stories of heroes and villains. There's times where we were the villains ourselves. And then there's times where we were heroes. But I think that kind of shapes us into who we are.
A lot of people just think of it too much in a literal term of a hero is Superman and a villain is Lex Luthor, but they exist all through life, every day. It's not something from the pages of a comic book. It is the pages of the comic book are inspired by things that have happened in real life. Yeah, the word hero has been around for a lot longer than a comic book has.
Yeah, it started back in, at the very least, ancient Rome and ancient Greece, all the old cultures that are long since gone. They had their heroes, Hercules, Perseus, St. Patrick, you name it.
But
Joan of Arc.
yeah. But with people going through so much, there's so much that we don't talk about. People going through different mental illnesses, which is something that Nerdvana will discuss in a future podcast. But touching on that, I am a survivor of mental illnesses. I struggle through it every day. And
As am I.
it's something that we don't talk about, and it's something a lot of people don't think about. But when you step back and think about it, you're struggling, but you also have those heroes that help make it possible, because there's so many times you want to give up. So many times you can give up. But there's always that one person or that one thing that stops you. And, the youth of today, we need to reestablish that whole support system and bring back those superheroes and prove that they're not just in comic books and in movies. They are real. And we need those superheroes back. Because without them, where are we? So, I don't know if anyone else has anything to say at this moment. So I want to give a moment of silence to all of our fallen heroes, not just in the military, police service, but also to Dennis, to the Rev, and to all of our personal superheroes. Here's a moment of silence for you, fallen or not.
All the money that I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all the comrades that I had, they are sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts that I had, they would wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should ride and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. A man may drink and not be drunk. A man may fight and not be slain. A man may call a pretty girl and perhaps be welcome back again. But since it has so old to be, by a time to rise and a time to fall, come filter me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all.
All right, thank you for the moment of silence. I hope you guys enjoyed the song right there. That was The Parting Glass, which is a traditional farewell song. You can find that all over the internet.
Especially if you play Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
That was the song Anne Bonny sang at the end of the game. Anyone that is
Spoiler alert.
anyone that's familiar with the Celtic traditions knows that that's one of the farewell songs that's typically sang when saying goodbye to someone. And that just seemed all too fitting.
It was appropriate.
So we're going to wrap things up here for you guys. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for helping us make us as big as we are. If you would like to help contribute anything, send us an email at nerdvanawebcast@gmail.com. If there's things you want us to talk about, any stories you want to share, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, anything, everything, we want to hear from you. Send us an email there, or you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/nerdvanawebcast. Keep tabs on our website. We will have updates while we move. We will continue to post reviews and everything up until that point. But particularly, I want to hear stories of your heroes. I want you guys to share stories with us on your heroes, on villains, on your opinions on our topic today. Anything and everything you want to share with us. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Be sure to corrupt your friends' souls if they have them with our podcast. And thank you all again so much for listening. My name is Liliana.
John?
And I'm Grim.
And Vincent.
And we are Nerdvana Webcast. This is episode 5. Woo! Stay nerdy, everyone. Hey, everyone. This is Liliana from Nerdvana, and I'm here with Jeff. How are you tonight?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying the show.
Me too. There's a lot of wonderful musicians here tonight.
There are. You're performing with, what was it, Trance to the Sun?
Trance to the Suns, and which is their first show since 2007, and Spider Ferns. They're a great electronic duo. They're fantastic. And of course, the great Voltaire.
Of
I
course.
was the humble opener. Humble opening act. Far less famous than anyone else on the bill, so.
It was exciting. I noticed your name on there, and I was like, I know him!
Yeah, no, we're old friends. It's awesome. It's great to be here with everyone and, see you and see everyone else playing music. It's a fun night. It's very cool.
So for our fans out there that don't know anything about you, how about you give them a little background?
Wow, where do I start? I was born in 1985, December 4th. I'll get to the point though. I'm a musician. I'm a singer, songwriter, guitar player. I play a style that I call Gothic acoustic. So I play a dark kind of acoustic music, and I have a violin player and a drummer. And so, we're acoustic, we're mellow, we're beautiful, but my style, it's very Gothic, and it speaks about the dark side of life, and it's very Gothic in that way. But it's very different from most Gothic music. But I think that it's going to appeal most to people who love Gothic music of all kinds. And I'm happy to play with other artists like Voltaire, who people that like Voltaire and people who like Trance to the Sun. It's open-minded people that they're not afraid to talk about the dark side of life, and they get enjoyment out of exploring that, as I do. So that's what I do. I play music and I sing, and I make movies. I write and direct films. I just directed a movie called Ghostlight, which is a feature film. It's a horror film. It's a ghost story, and it's about a haunted theater. It's very terrifying, and it's going to be released widely this spring on DVD and on demand, iTunes, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, everywhere. So check that out also. And I write, direct, I acted in it, I did music. So I sort of split my time between making films and playing music. And I love both, so I do both.
So how did you get started in both of those?
Well, I started off as an actor actually when I was a kid. And I spent 10 years just doing theater and acting in plays and writing and directing plays. And then I picked up a guitar when I was like 13, and I fell in love hard with music and the guitar. And I taught myself how to play. I'm totally self-taught. And I fell in love with playing music, and I started a band when I was a freshman in high school. And I played in a couple different bands, metal bands, heavy bands, rock bands. You know, I did that for many years. And I love that. I still do. I love that kind of music. I love playing it and writing it. But I realized that after several years of doing that, I realized it wasn't what I was really passionate about. And what I realized I was most passionate about musically was my own music, which is what I'm doing now, my solo acoustic music, where I'm playing acoustic guitar and I'm singing and I'm writing very personal, introspective lyrics, which I hope will also speak to other people. Because I feel like if you talk about a subject that you feel strongly about, then there's a good chance that there's a lot of people in the world that will also feel something from that, and they'll relate to the emotion. Because I think if you sing about universal human emotions, then you sort of speak to the world, and that's what I try to do. And so that's what I'm doing now, and I realize that's what I was most passionate about. So I recorded my album and got my awesome violin player who makes me sound great, and super hot, yes, super hot, super talented, way more talented than me, and yeah. And so that's where I'm at now. My album is called Color in the Black, and it's going to be coming out by the spring of this year, 2014, and I look forward to sharing it with the world.
Fantastic. So, do you have any advice for people who have those dreams that, they want to fulfill but aren't sure?
Yes. And, I overheard Voltaire talking to you earlier about this, and I agree with him in full, which is to say that when you do something like playing music or making films or anything of the arts, you're taking a huge risk, and it's not something that's not going to give you any financial security. It's not going to give you any of that. Like Voltaire said earlier, it's something that you do because you have to do. It's because you feel it inside in your soul. And I don't play music because I want to be rich or famous, or it's because it's something you feel driven to do. You feel it in your soul, and you don't feel alive unless you do it, and you don't feel complete unless you do it. And so for me, that's what it's all about. And so to anyone who is an artist or an aspiring artist, be it a musician or a painter or a filmmaker, I think if anyone has that in their soul, that they feel that they need to do this and they feel driven, the advice is just to do it. You just have to do it. There's no excuse. There's no excuses. If you're a writer, you write. If you're a musician, you pick up your guitar and you play, or you pick up your instrument and you play, you sing. You just do it. And that's really all there is to it. And you do it, and you see your goal that you want for yourself, where you want to be, what you want to do with your life. Say you want to make an album, or you want to play a show, and then you take the steps that you need to take to achieve that goal. But it's a combination of your own personal drive and really whatever you have within yourself. And if you have the talent, then you just need to put the work in. And so my advice to anyone who has the talent is just, you have to put the work in. You have to put the time and the hours in to hone your craft and to work at it, and to never give up, ever. Because if it's something you care about and you're passionate about, then you can't live unless you do it, and you can never give up. And the more years you spend doing it and practicing and getting better, you're just going to get better and better, and eventually you will succeed.
So do you have any other projects coming up outside of the show tonight?
So my album is going to be coming out in the next couple months. It's called Color in the Black, and it'll be available on iTunes and Amazon and CD Baby. And my feature film Ghostlight, which I wrote and directed and acted in, is going to be coming out this spring, and that'll be on DVD and on demand. You'll be able to see it on Redbox and iTunes and Amazon and Netflix. And anyone who's into horror movies or ghost stories should check it out because they'll really enjoy it. And those are my two focuses this year. I'll also be doing my second feature film later this summer, which I'll be shooting here in Washington State. So that's my other big project for this year.
Fantastic. And if our fans want to go ahead and find out more information about you and your projects, where can they look?
Yes, so if you want to hear my music, you can go to reverbnation.com/Jeff Ferrell, which is my name. So that's JEFFFERRELL. Or you can go facebook.com/Jeff Ferrell Music, and you can hear my music there, and you can find all my info there. And if you want to learn about my film Ghostlight, you can go to ghostlightfilm.com, and you can see the trailer for the movie, and you can read all about it and see photos and learn more and find out where you can see it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
It was great seeing you guys on stage.
Thank you.
And tonight's violinist was Raz from Arrakis.
Raz from Arrakis, yes. And she has a great band also called Direct Divide. So anyone else who likes great violin music and great vocals, and they're fantastic. So Direct Divide, check it out.
I'll have all the links up on the site so you can find all these fantastic people.
All right.
Thank you again so much.
Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.
Bye. Hey everyone, this is Liliana, and I'm here with Grimm and Voltaire. So how are you doing? And how is it to be back in Seattle?
Wet and rainy like it always is.
Because it's Seattle.
Because it's Seattle.
We don't tan, we rust.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. Or you collect algae.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it here. It's a fun town, and it's really funny because different towns obviously have different character, and one of the really prevalent aspects of Seattle is that it has a very distinct alternative character. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't take long walking around in Seattle before you see someone covered in tattoos or with earplugs or piercings and things of that nature.
Right.
So, we don't carry Captain Morgan now, or there's sip of cherry.
I'll drink that.
I made lots of
No, I'm sure it's fine.
Ugh.
You're trying to poison me?
Yes.
It's delicious, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for making it so strong, too.
No worries. So there's that for you. I'm gonna go get some Diet Cokes. Awesome. We only have it on tap here, and then sorry.
Wait, you have to go somewhere and purchase it?
Yeah.
Put it in a pitcher.
Blocks.
No, fuck that. Put it in a pitcher.
Nah.
No, I'm serious.
Well, we don't have any pictures.
All right. Go 2 blocks and buy some Diet Coke. And I want my limes cut.
Yeah. I'll be back, and then
I want each lime cut to 16 wedges.
And I'll buy it for you when you can do.
Bucket of ice.
Bucket of ice? Sure.
Bucket of ice.
Bucket of ice.
I saw a really big, handsome man carrying a giant tub of ice.
Why couldn't it have been me? Aren't I handsome?
Well, he was handsome. You're spectacular.
I love you.
There's the difference. I don't want to fuck him.
That's all been recorded.
We're back.
Kind of.
Yes. Anyway, so Seattle, it's like it says this is a town where alternative lifestyles are not only tolerated but encouraged. And that's a pretty cool thing. That's a cool thing to have be true about your town. There's only one other place that I really get that sense, and that's Austin, Texas.
Surprising.
Well, their slogan is "Keep Austin Weird."
Fair enough.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about an entire city that can appreciate weirdos like us.
Because we are weird in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's weird in some way.
Oh, of course. So for those of our fans out there that don't know who you are, can you give them a little background on who you are?
I am an evil clown.
I knew it!
I approve.
I don't know. It's really hard for me to say. I mean, I can give you some facts, right? So I started my career in 1984 as a stop-motion animator. Fell into animating and directing station IDs for Sci-Fi Channel, for MTV. I did some of the early classic MTV station IDs. And I was 17 years old and making thousands of dollars. It was really weird. It was like a really bizarre, I ran away from home and went to New York City, and that's how all this sort of fairy tale began. But by the time I was in my mid-20s, I became obsolete because computer animation came along and kind of obliterated the need or desire for stop motion. So I found myself completely idle, really, and because I couldn't get a job. And during that time, I realized that I could tell stories without having any money. I could tell stories by drawing them. So I would draw the characters. Instead of making films, I would draw the characters, and I'd put bubbles over their heads, and I'd write what they were thinking and saying. And so I sort of accidentally fell into making comic books. So my comic books, Chi-Chan, which was the first one, which was a sort of dark sci-fi Cinderella story, and then followed by another series called Oh My Goth, which was a completely ridiculous comic book series about goths. And they got published, and so I kind of made a name for myself as a comic book person. And around the same time, I had always sort of dabbled in music, but no one ever took me seriously because I didn't play an instrument. And honestly, I was writing songs in the 80s, frankly, but whenever people would say, hey, you look really cool, are you a musician or something? I'd say, yes, I'm a singer. And they'd say, oh, I'd love to hear one of your songs. And then I'd just start singing it. And they'd look at me like I was crazy because I wasn't singing along with a piano or a guitar. So around 1995, I learned to play the acoustic guitar, and then suddenly, I was a musician.
Ta-da.
So on a dare, I played my first show. I want to say it was in 1995. And people came, and the fact that I was playing in a goth club, but what I do has a lot of dark humor, the fact that it was funny at all was such a novelty to people. And so my musical career kind of took off from there. So at this stage of the game, here we are. I don't know how succinct that was, but so it's now 2014. I write music, I tour, I make albums. I still make stop motion films and do the film festival circuit with them. I don't do it anymore for commercials. That I find that kind of odious at this point. I don't really make comic books anymore, but I write novels and books. I wrote a book called Call of the Jersey Devil, a novel, came out a year ago. And it's like everything that I do. It's kind of dark, but it's also kind of funny. I have a children's book coming out probably at the end of this year called The Legend of Candy Claus, about a giant bat that steals candy from children on Halloween and gives it to good little boys and girls on Christmas. And then finally, to wrap up this, diatribe, I realized at some point that comic books were really labor intensive, and people were far more interested in the toys than they were the comic books. Like if you go to a comic book store, what do you normally see there?
A lot of toys.
A lot of toys,
Yeah.
and not a lot of comic books.
It's sad.
So I design toys. I make a lot of toys these days, vinyl toys and plush toys, and so I guess the short version, I could have saved you all the trouble of listening to me talk about myself. The short version is I'm a daydreamer. That's what I do. I daydream a lot, and I come up with ideas that are usually about monsters, or in the very least about the macabre and about things that are dark. But being a sarcastic bastard, they also tend to be funny or wry or cynical in some way. So there's a humor involved. So whether it's music or books or toys or films, at the end of the day, anything that I make is probably going to be kind of dark and possibly kind of funny. How was that?
That was good.
That is fantastic. In fact, one of our...
Hence, I'm an evil clown. Okay.
That's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't.
One of our friends actually, when we found out we actually got the luck to get an interview with you, we asked, if you could ask Voltaire one question, what would it be? And a close friend of mine, Chris Duvall, he's a fellow artist from here in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
He actually loves the song Man Upstairs.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted to know if that was based around life experience, or, to quote him exactly, if it was just pulled from the magnificent gray matter in your head.
I really thought you were going to say pulled out of your ass. I really thought you were going to say that. Or did you pull it out of the great pale expanse of your Cuban ass?
I thought that was the USS Make Shit Up.
That might be.
One of my favorites.
Well, actually, truth of the matter is, the question I get most often about the man upstairs is this a metaphor about God? Because a lot of people refer to God as the man upstairs. And the truth of the matter is, everything in that fucking, can I say fucking?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Song happened. That song is about the man who lived upstairs from me. And everything in that song happened. He would come home every night. He was an alcoholic, and he would come home every night at about, well, I should say every morning at 5 a.m. And he would fall up the stairs, literally face plant all the way up the stairs. And he was a gay guy, and on good nights, he would come home with a man that he met in a bar. And one of them, I don't know who, but one of them, I'm guessing it was him because of the regularity of this, would be chained to the steam pipe that ran through our building. So it was inches away from my head while I was sleeping. And so you'd hear the chains rattling on the pipe, and then he would make baby noises. He'd go, while presumably getting bummed in the rear. Those were the good nights. The bad nights, he didn't get lucky, and he would come home and he'd yell at himself for hours. He'd just go, "You cha-cha queen, you can't even find a man." And then he would proceed to drop everything that he picked up. Hence the juggling bowling balls comment. He literally would pick things up of tremendous weight, and he would almost instantly drop them. And he would also face plant. He would take a few steps and fall flat on his face. He sounded like a dead body hitting the ground. And then he would take a bath, and half of the time he would forget that he was running the bath, and the bath would overflow, and it would start raining in my apartment. The other half the time, after the bath, he would, like any, I guess, reasonable alcoholic gay psychopath, would realize that his apartment needed vacuuming. And he would start vacuuming somewhere around 5:30 or 6 in the morning. And again, this was a tenement slum building I lived in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And so, the ceiling was 3 feet away from my head. And I would hear this guy vacuuming for a couple of hours. So the song The Man Upstairs was literally about the man upstairs. And the tragic ending of this story is that despite my unbelievably low stabilized rent, this motherfucker won. He actually drove me out of that building. Living under him was so terrible that I finally just moved out. If I hadn't moved out, I would have an apartment today in New York City that is literally, and I'm not exaggerating, 1/10 the rent of an apartment that size by today's market value. Wow. But the motherfucker's still there. I would still be plagued by this guy on a nightly basis. So maybe I won. I don't know. But he did drive me out. So you can tell your friend. True life.
He will listen
Chris,
to this.
you will be listening to this. You have your answer.
Yes, true life tales of horror.
It's true.
So one of the other questions was he wanted to know what inspired most of your lyrics.
That's impossible to say because I have 11 albums.
That's true.
So, but I'll tell you this. I was realizing as I sort of, I put a lot of my own music up on YouTube. I'm probably one of the rarities and one of the rare musicians who voluntarily puts his own music up on YouTube. Although it does piss me off tremendously that so many other people do it because there's this, I'm like a white knight, despite being dressed like a Sith Lord, I'm like a Jedi underneath the robes. And so I find it really hard to break rules. So when you go to post something on YouTube, just before you hit the upload button, it says, do you own all of the copyrights to this material? Yes or no. And if you hit yes, it uploads it. And if you hit no, it will not upload it. And motherfuckers every single day are like, no, but yes. And they upload it anyway. Which is kind of weird. And, whatever. There's a mentality to it. People generally believe that they're helping you. Mm-hmm. Underneath the copyright infringement and the, hey, you're giving something away that I'm trying to sell so that I can feed my child, the motivation, and this is what a lot of other musicians don't understand, is that the motivation of the act is not one of thievery, it's one of, oh my God, I really love this and I want to share this with everyone. So the motivation is a genuine one, and it is a positive one. So it would be really fucking awesome if everyone else took them down so that I could get the views and stuff. Like I'm not competing with 13-year-olds for views of my own song. But I'll tell you why. And that is because if people haven't heard, say hypothetically you have a conversation with a friend and they say, oh, you should check out this song, Goodnight Demon Slayer by this guy Voltaire. And you go to YouTube and you Google it and you watch it or you listen to it and then you're like, wow, that's really cool. The end. Your urge is satisfied, you heard the song, and because you listened to it on somebody's bootleg upload, that's it. That's the end of the story. Now, if hypothetically I was the only person who had that song available on YouTube, you might go, oh, I want to hear another one of his songs, and you'd go and listen to another one of my songs, and you might suddenly realize I have vlogs, and you might watch my vlogs, and then you might go, oh my God, he's playing here in Seattle next week. And then you might go, well, fuck, I'm going to buy a ticket and come to the show, you know? And so you get to find out that I'm like a real human being. You get to find out that, you know, this is what I do for a living, and you might want to come to the show and see the show live and, you know, support my ability to come to your town to play a show. So when people upload the videos, despite the fact that they feel that they're helping, and in some way they are, if I already have that song up on my official page on YouTube, you're taking people away from the opportunity to find out that I might have a new album coming out, or that I'm coming to your town, etc., etc. So, wow, I'm really long-winded, and I really need to wrap this up. So, I forgot what the question was.
I forgot to.
Oh my God. No!
That's okay.
Did this really happen?
What inspired your lyrics?
All right, so what inspired my lyrics? Bringing it back. So I put my own songs up on YouTube. I hope people will choose to listen to the official versions, because I also get like 0.00001 cent every time you do, and that shit adds up.
It does.
We're having ramen tonight, kids. So, but in recent history, I just uploaded all of Boohoo. And in recent history, I've started uploading Almost Human. And I've already uploaded The Devil's Brisk, which was my first album. And in uploading some of these older sort of classic albums of mine, I've realized that a large number of the songs I've written are about one woman.
Ooh.
Yeah. Isn't that tragic?
Kinda.
I don't write songs about her anymore, but...
I'm wondering if that's where the last word came from.
No, the last word was, you know, actually, yeah, I shouldn't say, because I'd have to really sit and listen to it to remember. But Out of Reach, Almost Human, Underground, Anastasia, Snakes, Ex-Lover's Lover. I mean, there's and like all of Boohoo, minus, you know, Brains and Vampire Club. A lot of my songs were written about the mother of my child. Yeah, but if I was going to write a song about her now, it'd be called Mildly Irritating.
Some of us can probably relate.
Yeah. Because, you know, time has passed and wounds are healed. And now things that, you know, disturbed me so greatly that I had gaping wounds in my chest that could only be, you know, be alleviated by writing songs, you know, that pain is gone. Now I have that pain about other random strangers. I read about them.
Nice.
Yes. And then, you know, songs happen in another way too, you know. Not everything is stuff that happens from life. There are songs that I call homework assignments. Like Zombie Prostitute is a great example of a homework assignment. Like I'm walking down the street, and, okay, let me give you an example. I'm not saying this actually happened, but to give you an example. Let's say a promoter's taking me from the hotel to the show, and it's nighttime, and we don't really have prostitutes on the street in New York City anymore, but maybe we're somewhere dodgy, and we see a woman standing under a street lamp, and I look over, and I realize that she's a prostitute, but there's this green sort of glow from the street lamp that makes her skin look green, and suddenly I think to myself, oh, for a second I thought she was a zombie. And I get this idea, zombie prostitute. What a great idea for a song. But now I actually just have to sit down and kind of dissect the concept of a zombie prostitute, and like come up with every bad dead person sex pun that I could come up with, right?
No pun intended on the dissect.
Yes, dissects. I dissected her. All right, that was bad. So anyway, songs like that, Zombie Prostitute, Cannibal Buffet, Day of the Dead, a lot of those songs are really kind of like homework assignments where I come up with or they're concept songs. I come up with a concept, and then I spend a whole lot of time sitting down making the song a reality. So, you know, I don't think they're any less valid than songs that I'm driven to write because of like deep, tumultuous emotions. But that's how a lot of the other songs are written. So it's impossible for me to answer your friend's question, what inspires me to write lyrics, because they're all about something different.
Which makes sense.
Actually, technically, that would be a good answer to it.
Yeah, that does actually answer his
Oh
question.
man, you mean I could have not talked for the last 15 minutes? I could have
We
just
love
said,
your voice.
I don't know. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. I'll be reciting the phone book now. Not really.
Well, to be fair, when I heard of you first, I was a teenager in junior high, and the very first song I heard of yours, "When You're Evil."
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a gateway drug.
the irony to that is I was actually playing a D&D game with some friends, and I had a sorcerer. And the DM decided to be a smartass and say, hey, you need to have a theme song for all of your characters. And I went, got it.
That's a good theme song to have.
I threw it on, and everyone went, damn it, that is you.
You know what's really crazy is that song "When You're Evil" has become kind of a meme on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you search for "When You're Evil," you'll find that there's not one, not 10, but several dozen AMVs made, right? Animated music videos, where basically people just take footage from something and cut it to a song. So it's double copyright infringement, right? But where they specifically take Disney villains and cut them to that song. There's like a few dozen of these.
Makes sense.
Which I think is kind of awesome. But of course, I secretly wish, not so secretly wish, that Disney would hire me to write a song.
Right?
Because let me tell you, that shit pays.
And you know what? I think you'd bring way more class to their villains than they bring.
Yeah.
Well, there's some good songs. There's some very, very good Disney songs.
There are.
Yeah. I don't know how many Randy Newman songs I need to listen to. But I think, that would be my dream job, really. Like Disney calls up and they say, hey, we're making this film and the bad guy's really bad. And this is what he or she are like. Can you write a song for this? Like, that should just be my job. Like, in fact, I should just get a staff position at Disney.
You should.
Just sit in a corner and write all the bad guy songs. I would love that. That's how I wish to retire.
Hey, good goal. Wake up, Michael.
There are worse goals.
What's his name? Michael
Eisner?
Eisner?
Yeah.
Eisner? Yeah.
Is he still over there?
I have no idea. I think he's still alive.
Next question.
I don't remember my question now.
Oh, well, you know what? Let's look at the time. We have 8 minutes.
Okay. Good question to ask. For the people out there that have goals and dreams that aren't necessarily part of the society norm,
Yeah.
what advice do you have for them?
It's really corny, but follow your dream. You have to be reasonable. You can't be a complete sociopath. You can't, my dream is to eat children. That should not be a dream to follow.
No.
But I really think that I'm proof positive that, well, let me start a little further back. When I was a child and I was in school, I spent a lot of time doodling. And I would draw characters and creatures and like little fantasy worlds and things. And of course, a lot of my teachers told me that I was a daydreamer, and they complained to my parents, and they said, your son's not going to go anywhere. He's not paying attention. He's creating little fantasy lands and this, that, and the other thing. And I think that, I'm by no stretch of the imagination super famous or rich or super successful, but I do live my life bringing those daydreams into reality, right? And I think that there's something to be said about if you have a passion, whatever that passion may be, the entire world's going to fight you on it. They really are. I mean, nobody in the world's going to say, I've never seen your ability to paint, but yeah, you should absolutely not try to go to college and have a real job. You should just be a painter. No one's going to tell you that.
Yeah.
But if your passion is so great that it consumes you, you should probably focus on making it happen. You really should. And it doesn't happen right away. It takes a long time before you can sort of prove yourself to the world. But in the meantime, you should just be doing it. I want to mention one more thing, and that's that I get so many emails from people who say, I'm an aspiring writer, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to be a writer? I'm an aspiring photographer. What advice do you have for an aspiring photographer? I'm an aspiring, filmmaker. Hello, write. That's my answer. You want to be a writer? Write. Hey, I want to be a singer and I want to form a band. What advice do you have? Be a singer, form a band. It's so bizarre. People are waiting for somebody with some authority in their eyes to dub them an artist, to dub them a writer, or to dub them a singer, or to dub them an actor, or a filmmaker, or a designer, or a painter, or what have you. You don't need that. You don't need that. You just need to make the art that you wish to make. You might have to do it in between your hours at your day job. You might have to do it in between your responsibilities, your other responsibilities. But you honestly, there's nothing between you and creating the art, especially if you're a writer. I'm like, when writers say to me, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to be a writer? I'm like, buy a pencil. That's it. Yeah, seriously. Right? Like, you couldn't fucking find a pencil? That's it. Find a pencil. That's all there is to it. Start writing. Now, here's the best part of all. When you've been doing whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's singing, whether it's painting, whether it's drawing or writing, when you've been doing it long enough, the rest of the world will slowly start to identify you as so-and-so the painter, so-and-so the writer, because they witness you doing this act. So people unfortunately have this concept that they, someday in the distant future they might be a writer or something. But in order for that to be true, you need to start doing it right this very moment. And if you're doing it because you want to be famous, or if you're doing it because you want to be rich, or if you're doing it because you want to be successful, you're probably going to fail. Because the reason you have to do it because you can't live if you don't. You have to do it because it is what moves you. And if you do it long enough, then eventually the rest of the world will just see that you're so obsessed with it that they will view you as the artist that you envision yourself as. So, I hate to quote Nike, but honestly, the answer to the question is just do it. That's it. Just do it.
Which also makes a great condom slogan.
Condom slogan? That's more like just put it on.
You never heard
and
that?
And then do it.
Well, I could agree more with what you just said.
What?
I said I cannot agree more with the words that you just said, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I just
That's Jeff. He's performing tonight also. We're doing an interview.
I'm sorry.
No, you're now
It's all good.
It's all good.
Okay.
You're now in the interview.
I just heard your inspiring words and I just wanted to say I agree with
But
So, do you have any other final words for our fans out there?
Buy my shit. I'm kidding. What I really meant was buy my shit. I meant buy my stuff. No, I don't really have. I think I've said everything that can possibly be said. I'm very verbose, in case you haven't noticed.
I can tell.
But I would say this. That was a John Cage moment. All right, experimental music joke. Nobody got it. He got it. Okay. My website is voltaire.net, VOLTAIRE, and I live online. And I reply to a whole heck of a lot of emails on my Facebook page, and on my Twitter page, and on my YouTube page. So come and take a listen. If it's something you like, we're probably going to be friends. If it's something you don't like, please don't email me, because I hate you already. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity.
My pleasure.
And I can't wait to see the show.
I hope you enjoy it.
absolutely.
Pretty sure I will.
Have fun.